it's Callie. I'm with Child Life at Erlanger, and I'm here with Maggie, the lead lemur specialist here at the Tennessee Aquarium.
Hi, so glad to have you today. We're here joined by our ringtail lemur boys. So behind me you can see Gil and Skip and Twix are munching on their breakfast.
Can you tell me a little bit about like what they do eat? Do they just eat lettuce, or what does their diet look like?
That's a really good question. These guys have a very healthy diet. This is just a big old pile of romaine lettuce, so they get as much romaine lettuce as they want in a day, but they also get lots of other fresh fruit and veggies. So they get carrots just about every day. Beets are one of their favorite veggies, corn, green beans, peas, but they really love fruit, apples and banana. But we do have to watch their fruit intake because it's a little high in sugar, and we don't want them to get too much sugar because they are susceptible to some diseases like diabetes and some other things. It's just not very good for them to get too much sugar, just like it's not good for us to get too much sugar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so just like kids, we have to watch what we eat, so even just like us, the animals have to do the same thing, so that's kind of cool. I see the tortoises down here. They're enjoying some lettuce too, it looks like. So
Yes.
what do they typically eat?
So these guys eat more leafy greens than even the lemurs do. So they get lettuce and broccoli today, and then there's a little vitamin powder on there, so they also have to take their vitamins to stay nice and healthy and strong. There's some calcium on there and some other vitamins that it's hard for us to replicate exactly what they get in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just to make sure that their shells grow nice and that they stay nice and healthy as well.
What do they like to do throughout the day?
So the ringtail lemurs here are kind of the iconic flagship lemur species. There are over 100 different lemur species, but these guys are so iconic because they are so playful. So we have a group of 5 young boys here. They jump all over this exhibit. They will grab lettuce and run away with it and go munch it high in a tree so they can look out and see what's going on around them. They like to make sure they can see what's going on all sides. And they love to watch as guests come through too. They love to see the different colors and all the different people. So they're very attentive. These guys are a lot more active than some of the other lemur species because these guys are active during the day and not at nighttime. So that's why they're such a great exhibit animal for us, because people can come and see them be playful and see them munching and eating and jumping around all crazy.
That is super cool. So they like play more during the day.
Yes, these guys are very active during the day, jumping around. They love to munch on lettuce as much as possible throughout the day. So they are very spoiled here. Like I said earlier, we give them kind of an unlimited supply of lettuce to make sure that they're always munching on something nice and healthy.
So what about the tortoise? Like, what are their personalities? Because a minute ago, I was walking and all they were wanting to do was like snuggle my leg.
These guys have such personality, whereas the lemurs just want to eat their food and play with each other. They don't really care about us too much. The tortoises all have really big personalities too. In fact, they actually can feel their shells, which is surprising to most people. It's similar to what we feel in our fingernails. Like if something was to brush against your fingernail, we believe that's how they feel their shells. But their shells are made of bones and then covered in keratinized scutes. So keratin is what your fingernails are made out of, so it's similar. And they can feel it. For example, if you like start scratching them, or Grumpy here, because Grumpy really loves scratches.
Oh, Grumpy.
You can see he starts to shake his booty a little bit as I'm scratching his shell. So they are really funny little animals. They do in the wild seek out low branches and bushes to do this on. And they're also really famous for a behavior they do called the rain dance. So when it rains in Madagascar, it's not often, but they'll stand up and they'll shake their butts in the rain. It's really funny and really cute.
Is it okay if I pet him?
Yep, go ahead.
And this one's Grumpy?
His name is Grumpy. He gets the name because he tries to push you a lot.
Hi, Grumpy.
He really likes boots and pushing on people.
Oh my goodness, he's so cute. So how many, did you say total do you have in here, total lemurs?
Right now there are 5 ringtail lemurs in here, but at Lemur Forest we have 11 lemurs total. So we have 7 ringtail lemurs, 2 different groups, a pair, so 1 boy and 1 girl of a red-collared brown lemur, and 1 boy and 1 girl of a red-ruffed lemur. So we have 3 different species and 11 lemurs total.
So I heard that lemurs have 2 tongues. Is that true, or is that a rumor?
That is completely true. So lemurs are some strange little animals. They do have 2 tongues, and in fact all their bottom teeth at the front of their mouths are fused into what's called a tooth comb. And so it's believed that that secondary tongue that lives under their main tongue has adapted to be able to clean out that tooth comb. So that's how they groom themselves. They don't have baths and showers in the wild. They have to be able to take care of themselves. So those teeth have fused into a comb-like structure for them to be able to groom their fur. And then that tongue has no taste buds on it. It can just push all the gross stuff out of that tooth comb for them. So it's a really funny little thing, and the pictures of it are really cute.
That is a very interesting fact. So what about these fluffy tails? Because if you can see, kids, they have the coolest, fluffiest tails. So what, does that help them with anything?
That's an amazing question, and we're actually still researching it. So there are a couple different theories. One of the theories is in the wild they are found often in these like cave-like structures like this that has a lot of striation through the rock, the natural like levels of color as the rock develops. And so they believe it's a form of camouflage. One of the second theories, which I think is my favorite, is that each lemur's tail pattern is unique to them like our fingerprints are to us. So it's kind of a mode of communication for them. So the ring pattern is only found on the ring-tailed lemur. That's why they're so special. All lemurs have these tails, and they're mostly used for balance as they walk around the trees. But these guys have obviously come up with many different ways to use theirs. And even one of my favorites is a behavior they do called stink fighting with their tails.
Oh my goodness.
And what that is they'll pull those long fluffy tails up through scent glands on their wrist, and then they get as much of their own scent onto their tails as they can, and then they'll just face each other and wave them at each other. So they'll wave them over their heads and they'll pin their ears back really aggressively, but they're just waving their own scent at each other. So I always tell kids that it's like when you have a burping contest with your sibling.
That is super silly.
It's really silly, but it's really funny. And it's very important behavior for these guys.
Oh my goodness, I love that. So it's like they're having a little stink fight. That is so silly. So that's also what's really interesting that you just said is when we look at them, all their tails kind of look similar to us, but that's cool that they can tell each other.
Exactly, and it's the same thing with scent. So these guys have wet noses just like dogs and cats, and so they can smell each other, even though you and I standing here, we cannot smell them. But they all have a distinct smell to each other, and that's how stink fighting works. So it's interesting that they have those scent receptors because they are primates like us, but they actually have a lot of features that like dogs and cats might have. So they're just kind of on the primate spectrum here at the very bottom, whereas then there's monkeys, apes, and then humans. Same group as us.
How big can they get? Because I know we met a little tiny one earlier. I forgot her name or his name.
His name is Yoda. So Yoda's up there and he's smaller. So Twix, for example, who's right here, Twix weighs 3.1 kilograms. So that's about 6-ish pounds, a little over 6-ish pounds. Whereas Yoda weighs about 2.1 kilograms. So Yoda weighs about 4 to 5 pounds, whereas he weighs about 6 to 7. So they do range in size, but even within lemurs, red ruff lemurs are much larger than these guys. Lemurs, there's one lemur species that can fit in the palm of your hand, that's the mouse lemur. And then there's lemurs, the injury lemur, which is probably about this tall. So they do range on a big variety of sizes across Madagascar. But yeah, amongst these guys, Yoda's our smallest.
Yoda, he's so cute.
He's very cute.
So it feels a little bit warmer in here than it does outside. So can you talk to us about like how that helps them? Is it because I know you said they're from Madagascar?
Right.
Is the temperature a little bit warmer there and we try to make it normal and comfortable for them?
So this is about mild fall temps, I think, for lemurs and tortoises. But this is what we call here at the aquarium the tropical cove. So we like it to be nice and warm and humid up here, mostly for the plants. So a lot of these plants are native to Madagascar.
I mean, tell it in my face.
But the lemurs do prefer this as well. They can survive a little bit colder temps, but they definitely prefer these warmer temps for sure. You'll see him sitting up in the sun. They're also really known for doing a sun basking behavior called the sun worshiper. So it looks like a little lemur yoga. They hold their hands out like this and they just sit in the sun, and it's really cute. He looks like he's getting ready to do it, but he looks also kind of sleepy. So kind of like sometimes when you eat a big meal and you need a nap. They do that quite often.
Yes. So since I work at the hospital, how do you tell like if the lemurs are not feeling well? I know you know their personality like like you're talking about.
Right.
Do they ever get sick? Do y'all have a hospital? Like, what do you do?
So
for that?
they are living creatures, and they do sometimes not feel very good, and that's unfortunate part of life, you know, like it's not fair. I think they're perfect and they should never have to feel sick, but they do sometimes, and so we do our very best. For these guys, it's very subtle, because in the wild, if they were to show weakness or tell someone they're not feeling good, they could be kicked out of their group or something like that. So they try to hide it as best as they can for as long as they can. So it's really on us to make sure we notice every little difference in their behavior. For example, we did have one of our lemurs had a bad tooth. So he had hurt his tooth somehow and it got a little infected and we had to pull it. So he has a little stitch on his nose that's left from that because it got infected. But we do have an amazing vet care team here. We, you know, identified the problem, started antibiotics and pain meds, and then was able to do a procedure and take that tooth out. So just like we go to the dentist and the doctors and eye doctors, we've had eye doctors look at their eyes before. We do have a lemur with a scratched cornea, so an ophthalmologist came and told us all that. So they get the same kind of care that you kids at the hospital get too.
So that's pretty cool, guys. So just like we go to the hospital, we get medicine. She even talked about those stitches, which are those string band-aids we have to get sometime to help with our boo-boos. The lemurs get the same thing, so that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of introduce who we have today so that they can know their different names?
Of course. So this is Twix right beside me. So Twix is, as I mentioned earlier, he's our biggest lemur in this group. They do have a dominance hierarchy and he's at the very bottom, but he's very sweet and he begs for snacks a lot. He knows that he has the keepers in his pocket there. And then up here we have Skip. Skip is one of our most dominant lemurs, and Skip loves lettuce. Like, he's the first to come and munch on it. Up there chilling in the sun is Gilligan. We call him Gil for short, and he is Skip's twin brother. And then Yoda and Rolo are probably hanging out at the mesh, stick fighting Sprite and Snickers, the other group of lemurs. So,
Yes.
and then down here we have, this is Cass and Grumpy. And then we have Rutabaga and Turnip.
I see a ball right here. Does that have to do with something that they...
Yeah, so that is what we call enrichment. But for kids at home, basically it's, you know, sometimes when you are a little bored, maybe you might pick up a new game. We like to do that for our lemurs, so we want to make sure that they don't feel bored. We want to make sure that they have plenty of options of things to do. In the wild, they're constantly roaming and finding new things. So we like to put new things in here for them to explore. So that's what this ball is. It's called enrichment.
Okay.
We do 2 types of enrichment for these guys every single day. So they have plenty of stuff to do. Sometimes it's a ball. Other times it's a new food they've never had before. Sometimes it can be a new scent that they haven't smelled, so we get some perfume and we'll spray it around.
Okay.
Other times it's a new climbing structure, or it's a puzzle feeder where we put their food in something that's hard for them to get it out of, so that they have to kind of think and work it through.
Okay.
Keeps their brains very active. And here is Rolo. Like I was saying, he has the stitch in his nose still.
Aw.
We did that procedure a few months ago, and that stitch is still trying to fall out.
So he's still got his little string band-aid.
Yep. And he's a lovely little boy. He's got the fluffiest tail and the fluffiest ears. His ears really have big ear tufts there.
He is so cute. And I love how you were talking about them playing, because just like us kids here at the hospital, we bring toys, we bring fun stuff to make the hospital a little bit less scary and a little bit more fun for y'all. And they do the same thing for these animals. They bring fun stuff where they don't get bored. And to where it just makes it a little bit more normal for them.
Exactly.
So that's super cool.
All right, so I'm so glad you got to come and join us here today and meet the lemurs. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was so fun.
All right, you guys have a great day.